Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
So we continue reading from Teachings of Lord Caitanya. We are on chapter 25. Can someone please continue the reading? No one is able to read, then I'll read.
I can read.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
The only reason Vyasadeva compiled the Vedanta Sutra was so that all living entities could benefit from it by understanding the philosophy of Bhakti Yoga. Unfortunately, the Mayavadi commentary, the Sharirakbhasya, has practically defeated the purpose of the Vedanta Sutra. In the Mayavadi commentary, the spiritual, transcendental form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead has been denied, and the Supreme Brahman has been dragged down to the level of the individual Brahman, the living entity. Both the Supreme Brahman and the individual Brahman have been denied spiritual form and individuality. Although it is clearly stated that the Supreme Lord is the one supreme living entity, and the other living entities are the many subordinate living entities. Thus, reading the Mayavadi commentaries on the Vedanta Sutra is always dangerous. The danger is that through these commentaries, one may come to falsely equate the living entity with the Supreme Lord. In this way, conditioned living entity can be falsely directed, and then he can never come to his actual position of eternal activity in Bhakti Yoga. In other words, the Mayavadi philosophers have rendered the greatest disservice to humanity by promoting the impersonal view of the Supreme Lord, and thus depriving human society of the real message of the Vedanta Sutra.
So Lord Chaitanya is explaining that why did Vyasadeva compile Vedanta Sutra? Just so that we could understand that the essence of all the Vedas is to engage in devotional service. Bhakti Yoga, devotional service. But by this misinterpreting the Vedanta Sutra, what has happened is then we say, oh, God has no form. I have no form also, because if I'm going to become God means I'm denying my own individuality, but that's not true. Krishna says we are spirit souls, we are eternal. So the individuality can never be lost. Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna that never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall we cease to be. So Krishna is very clear that we are all spirit souls, we are all individuals, we are separate personalities. He has always existed, we have always existed, and we will continue to exist.
So that means the Vedanta Sutra was there before already.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Right?
Srila
And then the
Vyasadeva
Mayavadi thing commentary is the Sharirakbhasya.
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
That is the commentary by Shankaracharya.
Okay, so Vedanta Sutra was there. It was not by the Mayavadis, like they.
No.
Oh, no, right?
No. The Vedanta Sutra is written by Vyasadeva.
Yes. Okay.
So he is the author. And then many people don't even know that there are other Vaishnava commentaries on the Vedanta Sutra. They think that the Shariraka Bhashya, which is Shankaracharya's commentary, is the only commentary. But actually, the Vaishnavas also have their commentary, and the natural commentary that Vyasadeva wrote for Vedanta Sutra is the natural commentary of Vedanta Sutra that Vyasadeva wrote
is goddess,
Srimad
right?
Bhagavatam. Srimad
Okay.
Bhagavatam. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Is the comment is Vyasadev's commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. So Vyasadeva, he is the author of Vedanta Sutra, and he explains the Vedanta Sutra by giving us Srimad Bhagavatam.
Oh.
Yeah. And he's clearly telling us that the Supreme Lord is a person, he has a transcendental form. It's not that after we get liberated, we are going to become God. No, God will always remain God. Only we will be able to be in our spiritual forms. We each have spiritual form after liberation. We can also be in our original spiritual form, and we can be in our loving relationship with the Supreme Lord. And to show us this, Krishna came himself. He came with the Brajvasis. He brought Vrindavan down here, Yamuna, Govardhan. So all this is there in the spiritual world. So can we continue with it?
Yeah. From the very beginning of the Vedanta Sutra, it is accepted that the cosmic manifestation is a display of the Supreme Lord's energies. The aphorism Janmadi Asta Yatha Vedanta Sutra 1.1.2 describes the Supreme Brahman as He from everything emanates, He by whom everything is maintained, and He into whom everything is dissolved. Thus, the absolute truth is the cause of creation, maintenance, and dissolution. The cause of a fruit is the tree, but a tree produces a fruit. One cannot say that the tree is impersonal or that it vanishes. The tree may produce hundreds and thousands of fruits, but it remains as it is. The fruit is produced and then it develops, stays for some time, dwindles, and finally vanishes. This does not mean that the tree also vanishes. Thus, from the very beginning, the Vedanta Sutra explains the doctrine of byproducts. The activities of production, maintenance, and dissolution are carried out by the inconceivable energy of the Supreme Lord. Thus, the cosmic manifestation is a transformation of the energy of the Supreme Lord. Although the energy of the Supreme Lord and the Supreme Lord Himself are non different and inseparable. A touchstone may produce great quantities of gold in contact with iron, but still the touchstone remains as it is. Similarly, the Supreme Lord, despite his producing the huge material cosmic manifestation, always remains in his transcendental form.
So Srila Vyasadeva in the Vedanta Sutra, very beginning, he's saying Janmadi Asya Yata, that this entire cosmic manifestation is created, maintained, and dissolved by the absolute truth. Is created, maintained, and dissolved by the absolute truth. So it doesn't mean that the absolute truth is also that the absolute truth doesn't exist anymore. So the example being given is the fruit is coming from the tree. There's a tree, the tree is creating many fruits. So does it mean that because the fruit is there, the tree does not exist anymore? No, right? The tree is still there and the fruit is also there. It exists because it's the energy. It's a byproduct. So God is there. Even though He's created the material world, He's created us, the living entities, God still exists. Doesn't mean that because He has created this material world and that we living entities are there, that's the reason God does not exist anymore. He does. He does. Just like we create something, we bake a cake. So we are putting our energy into baking a cake. Does it mean that now I've become the cake and I don't exist anymore? No, I still exist. And the cake also exists. So the Supreme Lord exists. Material world exists. The living entities exist. We are all His energies. Energies. But what happens is if we think that, oh, God has no energy, then we are saying that I am greater than God. Oh, I have energy, I can do things, but God has no energy. So it makes no logic. That means we are claiming I'm greater than God. But that's not possible. God means the greatest, one who has all the opulences. Hmm? Yeah, also Prabhupada is giving the example touchstone, Chintamani. What you touch it with, everything turns to gold. But the touchstone remains as it is. It remains as it is. And the owner of a big enterprise may put so many big factories, their machines running. It's all being done by his energy. It doesn't mean he has become the factory. He's there still. He's sitting in his office or in his home, directing everything. This is all his expansions. The workers are working, the factories are running. So if a small living entity can do this, and he can use his energy in such a way, then imagine God, how he can use his energies. No? So this is what Vedanta Sutra is trying to explain to us. That it's not that, oh, because God has created the living entities, now he's not there anymore. No, of course he's there. We are his parts and parcels. Doesn't mean that the father and mother, they produce a child. So the father and mother are not there anymore. No, the father, mother are still there. The child is also there. Everything is existing, coexisting. Is that okay?
Yes. The Mayavadi philosophers have the audacity to reject the purport of what Vyasadeva explained in the Vedanta Sutra and to say he attempted to establish a doctrine of transformation of the Supreme, which is totally imaginary. According to the Mayavad philosophy, the cosmic manifestation is an illusory transformation of the absolute truth, which has no separate existence outside the cosmic manifestation. This is not the message of the Vedanta Sutra. The cosmic manifestation has been explained by Mayavadi philosophers as false, but it is not false, it is temporary. The Mayavadi philosophers maintain that the absolute truth is the only truth and that this material manifestation known as the world is false. Actually, this is not so. The material manifestation is not false, it is truth, but because it is relative truth, it is temporary.
Hmm. If we think that this world is false, it's an illusion, that thinking is not right because Vedanta Sutra is clearly stating that it's coming from the absolute truth. How can the absolute truth create something which is illusion, illusory? It exists. It's only temporary. We are right now very much in the body. What is the illusion is thinking that I am the body. That is the illusion. Now, if we think, oh, I'm not in the body, this is all false. I don't exist. I'm not in the body. Then if somebody comes and slaps us, won't we feel the pain? Won't we say, oh, what's happening? So I'm there. I'm getting a reaction, right?
Yeah.
How can I say it's false then? So we are very much inside the body, but thinking that we are the body, that is the illusion. This world very much exists, but thinking it's our permanent position, a permanent, our permanent home, that's the illusion. Is that okay?
Yes.
Mhm. We are very much here right now, inside the body. We can feel it, Somebody doesn't give us food for 3 days, gonna go crazy. Or doesn't let us use the toilet for 2 days, we're gonna go crazy. We are very much inside the body.
Yeah. So that means the material world is real, but it's temporary.
That's right. It's very
Right.
much real. We are very much here inside the body right now. Yeah, it's temporary.
Pranava or Omkara is the chief sound vibration found in the Vedic hymns, and it is considered to be the sound form of the Supreme Lord. From Omkara, all Vedic hymns have emanated, and the world itself has also emanated from this Omkara sound. The vibration Tattvam Asi, also found in the Vedic hymns, is not the chief vibration but is an explanation of the constitutional position of the living entity. Tattvam Asi means that the living entity is a spiritual particle of the Supreme Spirit, but this is not the chief motive of the Vedanta Sutra or the Vedic literature. The chief sound representation of the Supreme is Omkara.
Even in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, the Om, Pranava, Om, Omkar. This is a sound representation of Krishna. The Omkar is Krishna, is sound representation. So, and this all the mantras they start with Om in the Vedic hymn. This is what is given the importance. But what happened was Shankaracharya gave Tattvam Asi more importance, but that is secondary. Doesn't need to be. Well, because he's doing a service, he had to do it. So he had to find a way to misguide us. He had to do something. Otherwise, how could he be able to misguide us? Mm.
All these faulty explanations of the Vedanta Sutra are considered atheistic because the Mayavadi philosophers do not accept the eternal transcendental form of the Supreme Lord. They are unable to engage in real devotional service. Thus, the Mayavadi philosopher is forever bereft of Krishna consciousness and Krishna's devotional service. The pure devotee of the personality of Godhead never accepts the Mayavad philosophy as an actual path to transcendental realization. The Mayavadi philosophers hover in the moral and immoral material atmosphere of the cosmic world and are thus always engaged in rejecting and accepting material enjoyment. They have falsely accepted the non spiritual as the spiritual, and as a result, they have forgotten the eternal spiritual form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as well as his name, qualities, and entourage. They consider the transcendental pastimes, name, form, and qualities of the Supreme to be products of material nature. Because of their acceptance and rejection of material pleasure and misery, the Mayavadi philosophers are eternally subjected to material misery.
Hmm. So if we cannot understand, if we think Krishna's form is material, its transformation of the modes of nature, its mode of goodness, if we think his activities are material, it's like ordinary karma, his name, form, qualities are like ordinary material things, then we are going against the Vedas. We are going against the Vedic truth. Our knowledge is completely imperfect then, because all the Vedas say Krishna is Satchidananda, form, his name, form, qualities, pastimes are on the absolute platform. So thinking that Krishna is material, or thinking that I'm going to become one with Krishna later, or let me see what Krishna has to offer me. I want this thing, that Krishna does not exist. Or right now I'm going to use Krishna, but after I got liberation, I have no use for Krishna. All this is material thoughts. It's all on the material plane. It's not the absolute truth. Because we may think, oh, okay, till the time I'm in the material world, I'll chant the holy name. But after I get liberated, I become supreme myself, so I have no need for Krishna. This is a material thought. That's why it's called covered atheism, denying the personality of Godhead, because God is a person. He's the one who's created. Imagine if the brother tells another brother, our father does not exist. He's not made this house, everything. Now, maybe you just be nice to him, but when you grow up, you can completely ignore your father. It's not nice things, no, to say to the little brother. It's like misguiding the brother. Instead of saying, oh, of a father, you have a loving relationship with your father. Love him, have a nice, happy relationship, be with him. So, but the Vedas are telling us that we have a loving relationship with God. And at the point of liberation is when we are actually situated in this liberation and we are doing our real activities. And it's full of happiness and bliss and knowledge and eternal. Eternal. Any
The
questions or
actual,
comments? I'm
sorry,
sorry. I'm sorry.
sorry.
If you all wanted to comment or add anything or question. No, then we continue to read.
The actual devotees of the Lord are always in disagreement with the Mayavadi philosophers. Impersonalism cannot possibly represent eternity, bliss, and knowledge. Being situated in imperfect knowledge of liberation, the Mayavadis decry the eternity, knowledge, and bliss of the devotees as materialism. Because they reject devotional service, they are unintelligent and unable to understand the effects of devotional service. The word jugglery they use in an attempt to amalgamate knowledge, the knowable and the knower, simply proves that they are unintelligent. The doctrine of byproducts is the real purport of the beginning of the Vedanta Sutra. The Lord possesses innumerable, unlimited energies, and He displays the byproducts of these energies in different ways. Everything is under His control. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is also the Supreme Controller, and He is manifested is in innumerable energies and expansions.
So God is omnipotent. He has many, many potencies. He has many energies. And by these energies, He is acting wonderfully, creating the material world, maintaining it, destroying it. We are His part and parcel. We are also His energy. We are His tiny, tiny expansions. So these are the byproducts of Krishna. And the Vedanta Sutra is clearly saying it. And if we try to misinterpret it or misrepresent it, we are going against the scriptures. We simply have to hear as it is. We don't need to speculate, or it may be like this or maybe like that. No, we simply hear and accept. That's what Vyasadeva is telling us, that the Supreme Lord, He is the creator, He is the maintainer, annihilator. And Katha Upanishad is saying that there are so many eternals. And among these eternals, there's one eternal who's maintaining all other eternals. So we hear, we accept it. And just as, when there is a authority, a doctor, we are accepting his authority, right? He's telling us, oh, your health is bad, you have so and so problem, you take this and this medicine, you will be okay. So we are accepting his authority, following instruction. Or the scientist tells us this chemical composition is this. We accept the authority. Similarly, we need to accept the authority of the Vedas for spiritual knowledge. So let's stop here today.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening and joining in. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.